Hi, my friends, and welcome back to a new video. Today, we're going to talk about a little bit of pregnancy stuff. We're in our second trimester. We are 26, 27 weeks. We're getting there really, really far. And so I just kind of want to talk about how different pregnancies can be. It's kind of interesting because my son's pregnancy was extremely different than this pregnancy, but also having a toddler and being pregnant changes things a lot. So when you're pregnant and you can take a nap all the time and do all the things, it's a lot easier. And when there's not a toddler that you're chasing and, eating all your food, it's a little different. But it is what it is. Like, you kind of have to do what works best for your family, and that's what happens. I have to take care of my toddler while I'm pregnant, and that's okay. And it's not something to be bad or good. It just changes the pregnancy some. So I feel like this pregnancy I've definitely moved more, but I haven't been to the gym more. So like the last pregnancy I was at the gym a lot more and doing that kind of workout stuff. This pregnancy I'm just kind of moving around the house more. So it's a little different. The other thing I would say that's really different is just food. I was very, conscientious, but I also, ate everything in sight for the first pregnancy. But the second pregnancy, I have been a little bit more focused and a little bit more focused on protein, but also like, because I'm feeding my husband and my child too, I'm making sure that we're all getting those well-balanced meals a little bit better than I was, of course, the first time. So everything's a little different, but it's not bad. The supplements that I take every day, no matter what, are my prenatal, a vitamin D supplement, and all of these will be listed down below. And then I take I take my prenatal plus DHA, and I get that at Sam's Club. It's the cheapest one I have found. I've been taking it since my son since I was pregnant with my son. It's just been the best one. I took it the whole time I was breastfeeding and everything else. And then I take a vitamin D, like echinacea supplement. And then at night, I take a magnesium and a probiotic. Now, just as a big disclaimer really quick is I am a nutrition coach. Yes, I am not your nutrition coach as of right now, unless you need some help. But I also talked with my gynecologist about all of these things. So you need to talk with your team and your people and make sure you know what works best for your body. And it's approved through whatever, however you're having your baby. So mind your own motherhood. Everybody has their own motherhood and they do things their own way. But this is just what I'm doing. Of course, keeping my water up, which is really hard. I've found during pregnancy that I go through cold water spells and warm water spells or no water spells and having to drink liquid IV and Gatorade just to get some liquid in. I have been focused really hard too on getting a soup every day. So having at least one bowl of soup or broth so that I can really kind of aid that digestion and get those bone broth in so that I feel good. I'm actually going to head to the store. We've been sick this weekend. We had some kind of stomach bug. So I'm going to head to the store really quick when I get my son or before I grab him. And I'm going to make chicken noodle soup. I actually think I have everything here to make it except the noodles. So I think I'm going to grab egg noodles and I'll probably look for broth because all my broth's frozen and sometimes it's just easier to do the easy way. So that's kind of how we do it. I do try to make my own broth. I use a rotisserie chicken. I let it, simmer all day, that kind of thing. And I do have one in the freezer. I just don't think, at like 10 o'clock it's really going to work. So that's kind of how we're going to do it this time. I may run to Sam's Club and just grab one thing. Grab a rotisserie chicken and throw it in, but we'll see what happens. And I'll have a video of that at the end of this, just so that you can kind of see like how I make my soups. This is not like a, hey, we have to eat this kind of thing. This is definitely me eating this, but my husband doesn't always love soup. He prefers chili and like other things. So he'll probably eat this because we've been sick, but I make this for me. I make this for my lunches, just that kind of thing. Plus my son loves soup, so he will eat soup all the time. I did have a bout with digestion issues this pregnancy, really bad digestion issues that I have never come up with. I'm an extremely regular person. If talking about poop is not your thing, then I apologize, but that is something I think is extremely important. Your poop is so important, and I know that sounds crazy, but you do need to be aware of what normal poop is and what you need to be at, or what your normal is, or what works best for you. So that is why I take a probiotic every day. My husband also takes a probiotic every day, and my son gets one every once in a while when it works best for him. So that is really important. That's That's one of those things you cannot not poop. If you're not pooping, let's talk. We have issues. Um, so I had a big fiber issue. I had to go back to my chia seed smoothies, really high calories, but they really did help. I've increased my fruit intake, so raspberries, apples, oranges, things like that, with a lot of water, just to get that extra liquid in. I do struggle with getting my water in right now, especially being a stay-at-home mom. I used to take a gallon of water with me to work, and it was no questions asked. But now, being stay-at-home mom, I don't drink as much as I should, and I'm not as aware of it, I guess. So that is something I am working on. That's definitely one of my big things this week that I'm working on. So every morning I do have coffee. I have not given up coffee. I did not have coffee when I was sick. That's how you know you're really sick, right? So I did not have coffee when I was sick, but every morning I have a cup of coffee, sometimes two, just depends on the day. It depends on the sleep too. Having a toddler, you don't always sleep as well as you need to, and sometimes pregnancy in general just, doesn't. You can have up to 300 milligrams of caffeine. Of course, less is better, but whatever works best for your body is what is best. I don't stress about that part. I don't stress about a lot of those things. I do try to heat my deli meat, but I still eat deli meat. I don't always heat it. It's okay. You have to work with what works for you. Lily Nichols has a really good book, and I'll post that down below too. I've read that book and it's great. I would love to add liver, but I always think about it when I'm pregnant, and that sounds horrible, right? So cooking with raw meat has been hard, but I do work through that. Oh, it's one of those things. So keeping my protein up, yogurt. I keep yogurt in our fridge at all times, especially the Oikos Pro. Those are our favorites. I keep protein shakes at all times. My husband has come into a liking of those, so it's really his at this point. But I do sometimes have one in the afternoons or, in the mornings with my coffee if I just need that extra protein. In the beginning of my pregnancy, I always have protein at breakfast. I always have a yogurt or egg sandwich or something with a lot of protein, and even making protein waffles because those have protein. But for lunch, I make sure I'm having protein, but I don't stress about the protein at lunch as much. So breakfast and dinner are my big protein meals. Lunch, I kind of snack usually, especially in the beginning of my pregnancy. Toward the middle of my pregnancy, this pregnancy, I've been able to do more of my fasting, which works better for my body. I have found that letting my body digest a lot has been extremely helpful. And that fasting time gives my body time to digest. So I have been able to have my coffee in the morning and then wait till about 10 or 11 and eat my breakfast. Then I'll have a small snack at 2 and then 4, and then I'll have dinner. And that's kind of just what works best for our family right now. Being home really clearly helps that too. And then my son, of course, kind of just goes with the flow. He could eat all day, or he'll eat, snacks. He does eat sometimes when he wakes up immediately, or he doesn't. It just depends. And I'm the same way. So if I need something for breakfast, I will eat breakfast. If I don't need breakfast, I won't eat breakfast. So I think the other thing that you need to remember, especially in pregnancy, is to go with the flow. Try new things, see what works. The protein thing in the morning, like I'm telling you right now, that is a life changer, especially in the first trimester. I know a lot of people struggle with a lot of the nausea and things like that. And honestly, I have struggled with the nausea for a lot longer this pregnancy than I did the first one. But the second trimester nausea has finally slowed down. I'm sure something will creep back up, but it is what it is. All right, so quick little tidbit here. Don't forget to label whatever you have, especially chicken and chicken carcasses that you put in your freezer. So I grabbed out our crock pot and found a rotisserie chicken from January that really needed to clearly be eaten. So I threw that in and I poured a bunch of water over top in our crock pot. I put this on high because I wanted all this done in one day. Normally I would let this cook overnight and then put it away the next day, or let it cool all, for like 3 hours in the morning and then put it away in the freezer. But we just didn't have time for that, and I desperately needed this chicken noodle soup. So I made sure to grab a rotisserie chicken, and then I keep all of our vegetables that we just don't eat in the freezer. So I grabbed out a bunch of celery and a bunch of carrots and threw them in. So that's kind of what I did. And then I have 2 bags of chicken that I'm going to throw into the actual thing later. Come to find out, I couldn't figure out if it was actual chicken or if it was just chicken carcass, one of those bags. So I ended up just grabbing chicken, canned chicken. So don't forget too that you have that option. Canned chicken is a great option. It is super easy to keep in the pantry at all times, and it's super budget friendly. So don't forget that option. So after that, I did add all those the carrots and celery. Let all that cook on 4 hours for high all day long. Super yummy, super great. And then once that was done, I did, season it. I added some seasoning. Actually, I added some seasoning before and after, but I put the blend in there. I love that blend seasoning. Let this cook for 4 hours and then let it come out. I pulled all the chicken off that I could, and then my mom brought me some egg noodles. She was going to buy Walmart anyway. And then I cut up, and she also brought me an onion. So I cut up an onion, cut up some of those frozen carrots and that frozen celery. Frozen celery does not last as good as you want it to, but frozen carrots do great. So put all that in there and the noodles, and now we have chicken noodle soup for days. Another one I really love is just grabbing everything you have in your freezer or fridge and just using it up. So I had black beans, corn. I grabbed chicken stock out. I had peppers that I needed to use up. An onion, the black beans from the party, and then I had some ground beef. Throw all that together and make chili. Also forget that gosh loves this freaking Instapot. So you can put about 3 pounds of beef in there and it'll actually cook it all. How awesome is that? I add some adobo to this and then made sure that this was one of those really good things I like. Taco seasoning. So taco chili. My husband will always eat chili if it's named chili, but he won't always eat soup if it's named soup. So just think about that, ladies. Um, I always forget that my Instapot can saute. So just a reminder that your Instapot does a lot of things. So I threw all this together, and I do post a lot of these on my shorts, but I thought I'd add this in this video because I did talk about soup and how important it is, especially during pregnancy. So I threw all this together, and then I made sure all the meat was done. I used my Dollar Tree smasher, meat. I don't know what you call this. A meat separator. And then I added those 3 ears of corn that I had that were about to go bad. And I hate when food goes bad. So the soup's a great way to just use up what you have. Peppers, onions. Peppers. Yeah, I did the frozen onions. That's the other thing too. If you have onions, freeze them if they're not going to last. And if you're cutting onions, just cut a bunch, freeze them in baggies, and then put them all in one big gallon Ziploc baggie and make sure you label it. Then I had chicken stock left over, also needed to use, added that in, added a little bit of water at the end of this, and then I'll show you my fancy important ingredient that I've been adding to all of my foods to give them an extra flavor and an extra oomph. Or at least all my chilies, I guess I should say. So I do love this Instapot. I don't know who came up with these ideas, but I will also link my Instapot below. It's just a normal Instapot. I would say find one on sale, especially after Christmas. Find somebody who's getting rid of one. The other thing I would say too is find somebody who's getting rid of Crock-Pot. Find somebody who's getting rid of things. That has been my MO lately, is just finding things that people are getting rid of. So we did this, and then I did add a little cheese and chips to this. My husband and son love to dip tortilla chips in there. And then I focus a lot on the broth for me. So make sure you're getting that broth in. A lot of those hot chocolates with bone broth are great, but this is just a good way to get that in there. This is my special seasoning. My Tony's. So add Tony's just for an extra depth of flavor. And I actually add that in the next recipe too. I add that in my chili, and I add that in all my chilies. My taco chili and my 3-bean 2-meat chili. This is my 3-bean 2-meat chili. I love this chili. This is a family recipe. This one I kind of, did some different things. I used these mixed chili beans from Walmart as an easy shortcut, little pricey, diced tomatoes, and then I had tomatoes in the fridge that I needed to use up. So that's another reason I made chili, and it was cold outside. So I did 4 cans of the mixed chili beans and then 1 can of the diced tomatoes. I grabbed some chili powder from my seasonings, and then I had like 4 or 5 tomatoes that I cut up. And I grabbed the blend because I put the blend in everything. You could also, and then the Tony's is my special little extra. And then you'd also use, adobo or anything like that. And then oyster crackers on top of our chili is the best way to eat chili as far as I'm concerned. And this went super fast in our house, like super fast. We also made a ham for our Friendsgiving. So I threw ham on some Hawaiian rolls. Sam's Club has the cheapest Hawaiian rolls. Grabbed some broccoli cheddar soup, threw it all together, and that was our meal for one night. The other thing I would say as a mom and as a woman is to prep breakfast if you can. Mind you, I'm in my nightgown in this, and I am making some breakfast. So I did one day, one morning, just kind of go crazy with the sausage and the biscuits and the hash brown casserole, and did all the things. I love biscuits from Sam's Club, but I also love to make my own. So I do make my own. I use Chisel and Forks recipe. If you just Google best easy homemade biscuits, it's like one of the first ones to pop up. And I love that recipe. It's super easy. But I sometimes just use a shortcut. So don't forget that there are shortcuts out there if you just desperately need a shortcut. It is okay to use a shortcut. I know it's hard. I know it's one of those things you'd rather just make it from scratch. And those actually, you can make your own from scratch and freeze them. I actually will be doing that in the upcoming months before the baby comes, just to have that prepped. So this, I mixed one of the classic, I think, or sage, and then I did a hot sausage. So I mixed all the sausage together, and then I used my meat masher and throw it all in and cook this sausage down a lot. These potatoes O'Brien were on sale at Kroger for $1.99 for a bag. So you could get up to 5. So we have hash browns for days. But they're just such a good deal, and they're so easy. They're already cut. You don't have to worry about it. Granted, real potatoes would be cheaper, so do be aware of that. But with that $1.99 price, I just couldn't turn it down. I do spray with olive oil right now because I ran out of my avocado oil. And then I'm throwing this in, potatoes O'Brien on top, and letting that kind of sit while I cook this sausage so that they can kind of, thaw a little bit. Biscuits are cooking, and I'm gonna cook up all this sausage, and then once I cook up all this sausage, I actually end up splitting it between making sausage gravy, which you'll see in a few minutes, and throwing this on this casserole. Now, again, you have to come up with what works best for your family. So really, I mean, I could have made this last week with that extra ham too, because that's what my mom does for Christmas. But right now, this was just something we needed right now. We needed a breakfast that was easy. And as a mom and being pregnant, I don't always wake up and be like, yes, let's make breakfast. Like, this is what I want to do. So that's the other thing. That's the other reason that I do prep foods. And that's why I think meal prep is so important. It's one of those things that you really need to focus on if you need food ready when you wake up. So that's why I do focus on meal prep so hard, is I wake up and I need food ready sometimes, especially when I was working a full-time job. I didn't have the energy to make that. So when you're pregnant and when you're doing pregnancy and you're doing it on a budget, instead of stopping at Starbucks or having your husband stop for food, prepping that stuff when you have the energy is the best time to do it. So if I'm already cooking, I'm going to double something, or I'm going to prep on a Saturday morning when I know I don't really have to cook that much later. On Saturdays, we usually eat 2 meals. We don't eat like all 17 million meals. So it's kind of not a bad time to do it. Plus, my husband's not rushing out of the door. And my son's kind of in a, lackadaisical, I guess, morning. So think about the mornings that work best for you to meal prep. Maybe Sundays don't work for you. Maybe Monday's better. Maybe Monday night's better. Maybe it's better when your kids are asleep. It just depends on what works best for you. But making sure that you're meal prepping when it's best for you is key. Now, I use about 18 eggs in this. I ain't gonna lie to you, and they are yummy. I love eggs. I use eggs in everything almost. I eat eggs when I'm sick. So just be aware of what works best for you. I loved making those egg sandwiches for a long time, but they just did not do as great in the freezer as I wanted them to. This actually will do really well in the freezer if you make it into smaller pieces, or if you do it in egg cups, you can freeze it. So just think through what works best for you as a family. And that's the other thing, as a nutrition coach, I don't mind sitting down with you and focusing on what meal prep would work best for you, or what's working best for your family, or do you need shortcuts, or do you want to make it from scratch? So you just have to work within your nutrition goals, and you have to work with what works best for your family, because gosh knows it's not easy. So you do have to make it work. And just so you know too, I mean, I make it look so easy in here, but reality is this took a lot longer than you think it did. So I did mix those eggs back there in the back with a whisk, and I put some seasoning in there. I used the blend press. So this is my sausage gravy. Super simple, super easy. I did put a fourth of a cup of, after it was done cooking, I split it half and half. I did a fourth of a cup of flour, all-purpose, or you could use bread, I guess, but I use all-purpose usually. And then I did a little bit of butter just to give it a little bit of texture, you know, give it that oomph. And then I did 2.5 cups of milk. Two and a half. I actually use oat milk for this, and I don't have a problem. I've also used almond milk, and it's been fine. You could use regular milk, of course, but we just do better with that. So I also then took all the cheese that I had in the refrigerator to use up and threw it all into the eggs. So I mixed those up really good, added the seasoning, added the cheese, and then I put half the sausage on top of the potatoes. And I'm cooking bacon in the oven also. So I'm going to crunch up bacon to put on top too. So just again, you know, sausage gravy is super easy. It's sausage, a fourth of a cup of flour, a little bit of butter if you want to add it. You don't have to. And then about 2.5 cups of milk, your choice of milk. I use oat milk and it works fine. Let it come back up to a boil, and I actually let this cook a little too long, but that's not the end of the world. And then I also ran out of eggs. So there's that. So just be aware that like when you're cooking, you have to be ready and you have to be kind of fluid. I know it's kind of stressful for people who are not as ADHD as I am, and or as not like, you know, it's like you just have to be prepared. I'm not the best recipe follower. My husband always asks me, oh, did you follow the recipe? And the answer is always no, just so you know. So I do make up my own recipes as I go. A lot of my food is just kind of what works best for our family and what we have in the house. So you just kind of have to do what works best for you. I'm not the greatest at recipes. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes recipes just give me anxiety. Also, little quick trick, if you drop a shell, using the actual shell to get the shell works the best. So pop all those eggs in there. We're going to finish that. This sausage gravy is done. I'm just going to let it come back to a boil, and then I'm going to put it back down to simmer. I'm going to let it cool for a while, make sure it's good to go. And then I usually just take our biscuits and rip them up. And my son eats it out of a bowl because bowls work best for him. And then I put it on a plate and then cut it as I go. So you just need to do what works best for your family. My son's obsessed with sausage gravy. I'm obsessed with sausage gravy. My husband doesn't love it. So that's the other reason that I'm making this big egg casserole too, is because that's something that he enjoys more than this. Right now, he's having a protein shake for breakfast. So you just have to do what works best for your family and be aware of what's going to be best. It's not all roses. It's not all easy. You know, sometimes this week it's been, here's a protein shake running out the door. Or, hey, you know, here's some toast, because that's just what tastes good. So we kind of go with what tastes good. And I do focus a lot on seasons. So like in these seasons, I'm eating much more bulk food essentially, or like comfort food, but I'm trying to make it as healthy as possible. In the summer, I'm eating a lot lighter. So you just have to do what works best. But also with the pregnancy coming, I need to eat a few more calories than I'm used to. And eating calories has been hard. So I do try to make foods that I really do enjoy so that I'll actually want to eat them. So here's my sausage gravy, super easy. I hope you enjoy that recipe. That's super easy. And then I grabbed my bacon out. Talking to my son, of course, because you know, you're never cooking by yourself. And then realized that this needed to be turned down for real. So I did that, and then I'll add the bacon to the casserole as we get going. I love making oven bacon, making bacon in the oven. I did this one a little low on 375. You could do it a little higher if you wanted. Just make sure you're watching it, because if you're not watching it, it will burn. And it burns fast. So what I always do with my bacon is let it cook in the oven on aluminum foil so it's easy cleanup. Once that's all done and the easy cleanup is done, I make sure that I grab a plate and then I put down paper towels to absorb the grease. The bacon in the oven, you know, has a decent amount of grease, but it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. And then I grabbed the biscuits out, and I sent up a little thing and added some butter to the top of them. After you add the butter to the top of them, I also took some of the bacon and put it to the edge. Made sure that my husband had a few extra, because usually he likes to make like the bacon egg sandwiches instead of having the sausage gravy like we're gonna eat. So I wanted to make sure that he had some bacon left over for that. Plus, sometimes just having bacon in the fridge like really helps, especially when you're making eggs. I usually keep bacon bits from Sam's Club, but I just bought their bacon because it's only $3.33 a pound, so it's just such a really good price for bacon. And here comes my son ready to eat. He sees biscuits and he is ready. So I'm throwing cheese on top of my casserole. I did put cheese in the eggs too, don't forget. So there is a good amount of cheese in there. Yes, cheese is fat, but it also adds protein. It adds calcium. It's also got all those things in them, so it makes it a very well-rounded casserole. This casserole is pretty high in calories, pretty high in fat, but it was really good. So I think sometimes you just have to realize what, works best for your body. And of course, high protein is going to work best, but sometimes you just need a little comfort food too. So throwing that in the oven, letting that cook while my husband's finishing up sleeping, and then we are gonna have our sausage gravy. Also ran to Aldi the other day. This is like a quick and easy one. I did cauliflower. I did they had sweet potatoes on sale, oat milk creamer, and sausage. I'm gonna make zuppa, which you'll see in a minute. And if you want that recipe, just let me know. I'll do a video on that because it's one of our favorites. Chopped kale. We needed brown sugar really bad for everything, green beans, bananas, and this stuffed salmon was amazing, and it was like $10. So just, look out for little deals. Don't always have big grocery shops. Sometimes small ones are good. Here's our zuppa. It was so yummy. It was literally the best. My son eats it too, and it's, better than Olive Garden. So, check my shorts for that. We love our zuppa. It is one of our favorite meals. And then always a snack, granola, raspberries, and yogurt. Always keep that snack going. Always that high protein. Always something to keep you full. And you can add chocolate chips for a special, special treat. Don't forget to use the snacks too. What else? So yeah, keeping your protein up, really, really key. My protein guide will be down below too if you want to click that. It's just an easy freebie to get on my list and stuff. And it's just a quick protein guide. It'll help you out. Keeping yourself busy, moving, getting outside, that's key. That's key to digestion also. So the fiber, the probiotic, and getting moving. Those are, your three things that really aid your digestion. If you do have questions about digestion or any of that, please, there's a freebie down there that we can meet and kind of talk through what's going on in your life and to see if we fit well together as a nutrition coach. But that is one of my big things that I would definitely recommend working on is those three things, especially during pregnancy. Friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was simple, easy to follow. I will also have that recipe at the end, quick, easy chicken noodle soup, just kind of giving you something. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you again. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment your favorite ways to deal with nausea in pregnancy. I would love to hear them. Comment how you're feeling during your pregnancy. Comment how you are scared to get pregnant because you're scared of everything everybody said. Just let me know what's going on, y'all. I hope to see you soon, and thanks for watching. Bye.